So to make a beanie, you're going to need pretty much the most basic crochet equipment. So I have a skein of yarn, which is the Blue Label Pull Skein Double Knitting. I have a 5mm crochet hook, a tapestry needle, or just any regular needle. You just want to make sure that it has a big enough loop on the back that the thickness of the yarn is going to feed through it without too much trouble, and some stitch markers. Oh, and a scissor, but I'm sure most of you already have a scissor at home. If not, a knife even will do. You just want to cut off your end basically. And yeah, that's all we need to get started. So the first thing we're going to want to do is to get our yarn. So if you want, you can just sort of feel around and see for the loose outside end. There we go. Right, so the loose outside end. Otherwise, if you're someone that wants to take a chance and see if you can get the inside so that you pull from the inside, then you just reach in, you pull this out. Let's get that one out of the way. And then somewhere in here, you should find the inner end. Let's see. Yeah, and this is what we call yarn bath, when you pull it out and it just comes out as one big mess. But there we go. Okay, so this is our inner end, and I'm going to be using this. So let's get all of this out of the way. Okay, then we want to get our yarn onto our hook. And the way we're going to do that, or the way that I do it, there's multiple ways to do it, but this is how I find it easiest, is that you're going to hold your yarn between your thumb and your two fingers, and then you're going to wrap it around, okay? And then when you come to the front again, you're going to cross it. So cross it and hold it with your thumb, and then wrap it around again, and then you're going to hold this back part with your ring finger. Now that you have this, I like to put my hook under the first one and over the second one, and then just pull it through like that, okay? Once you've got it like this, you can put your hook in that little loop that you got, take your fingers out, and then you can just pull on your two ends to tighten. Okay, and that is how you're going to make a slip knot to put your hook and your crochet together, your hook and your yarn together. Okay, next we are going to chain. Right, and the chain that we're doing is the width of the, or rather the length of the beanie. So basically the part that goes from your forehead to your crown. And for that, we're going to chain 55. So for that, we're going to take our yarn, we're going to yarn over, meaning we're going to take our yarn and put it over the hook like that. And once we've done that, we're going to pull that yarn through the loop that is already on our hook. So we're going to then, again, we have this one on the loop. If it makes it easier, put your finger on this so it's not moving around. So we're going to yarn over and pull through the loop that is on the hook. And each of these is called a chain. So I currently have 2 chains on my hook. And then if I yarn over and pull through again, that is chain number 3, yarn over, pull through number 4, yarn over, pull through number 5. And I'm going to keep doing this another 50 times to get to a total of 55. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all of 15. Here I have my chain of 55, and the way that you know that it's facing you the right way is that if you have these V's on the front, okay? If you turn it around, you don't really see that V shape. It's more of a bump and a bump and a bump and a bump, and that is what we call the back bumps. So if you turn it and you see those V's, that is how you know that it is facing the right way. You also want to make sure that you don't make these chains too tight, meaning that when you're doing it, you don't hold it so tight and then it gets a lot smaller. Like that, where it is super tight, because when you are now trying to go back and work into these bumps, your hook is going to struggle to get in because it is so tight. We are now going to start the repeat pattern for this beanie, and what that means is that from now on, everything that we're going to do is going to be relatively the same, and the stitch we're going to be using is a half double crochet. This is using US terms. So what that means is that the stitch we're going to be using is yarn over, like that, put your yarn over your hook, and then this is the chain that's currently on the hook. This is the first chain from the hook. This is the second chain from the hook, okay? And we're going to be working into this second chain from the hook, and we're going to put our hook in there, and we're going to pick up another loop, right? So we're going to have 1, 2, 3 loops on our hook, and we're going to yarn over one more time, and we're going to pull your hook through all of them. Yarn over, 2 loops on the hook, into the next chain, which is this one here, right? Then we're going to pick up that loop. Now we have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, and we're going to pull through all 3. Yarn over into the next chain, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And we're going to do this in every chain all the way to the end, and then I'm going to show you how to count and make sure that you have the right number of stitches. But just to make sure, when we come back around, that we do not miss this first one here on the end, we're going to take one of our stitch markers, right? And if you don't have these, like I said in my beginner's guide to crochet video, you don't have to get a stitch marker. You can use a curtain hook, you can use an earring, you can use a bobby pin, a safety pin, right? So what we're going to do is just that first stitch that we made, we're just going to put the stitch marker into that one so that we know when we're coming back around that this is the last stitch that we need to work in. So I am going to keep putting my half double crochets into every chain all the way to the end of my chain, and then I'm going to meet you back at the end and show you how to continue. Okay, so I've just got my last 3 chains left here to do, so let's do that together. 1, 2, and the last one, 3. All right, so well done. If you've reached this point, you have finished row 1 of your beanie. And honestly, working into that chain is the most difficult part of this process. So you've made it this far, and that is a true accomplishment. Now we're going to turn our work and continue working the same stitch all the way back to the other side. So how we're going to do that is here at the end, we're going to make another chain. And if you remember from the beginning, to make a chain, you just yarn over and pull through the loop that is on your hook. That is it. So then we're going to turn it, right? So your stitch marker is going to be on this side now, and now this is going to be your last stitch. So what we're going to do, just to make sure that we haven't skipped any chains and we're still maintaining our 55 stitch count, we're going to look at, okay, let me actually just take this out so it's a bit easier and I can bring this up. We're going to be looking at these V's at the top, right? So you can see that there is like a V shape. Next to it is another V shape. Next to it is another V shape. And if you count these V's across, that is how you're going to count your number of chains. Okay, so let's do that together. This is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. You should have 55. If you don't have 55 stitches, all you're going to do is you're going to pull on this end, this one here that you were working with, and it's going to unravel your work, which is what we call frogging. So it is going to unravel it, and you can see if you need to add in stitches. If you've found where you've missed the stitch, where you've skipped a chain, then you can just go back and fill it in. But for now, I'm just going to continue. So we've chained one here at the end, and then we're just going to half double crochet across again. So we're going to go under the V, so under both loops of the V. We're going to pull up a loop. So we're going to have 3 loops on our hook. There they are, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to yarn over, and we're going to pull through all 3 loops. Okay, and then we're going to go for the second one. There's my little V there, and we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over on under all 3 loops, yarn over into this next V, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, all 3, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. And we're going to keep doing this all the way to the end. And if you want, again, your stitch marker, and we're going to put this guy in our first stitch here on the end, so that when we come back around, we're not gonna miss this guy. Okay, so again, let's yarn over, insert, pull up, yarn over, pull through, and we're gonna keep going all the way to the end, another 55 stitches. And don't worry about trying to be quick, especially if it's your first time. It's going to take some time and some practice to get used to it, to get used to the motion, to get used to the feel of it. But once you get into it, it should get a bit easier. So say by around row 4, row 5, it should start feeling a little bit more natural, and you're not going to have to think about it as much. Okay, and we're just going to keep going till the end. So again, I'm at the end. I've got my last 3 stitches here. So what I'm going to do is yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop. Ooh, there we go. Insert, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. And then we're here at our last guy. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out his stitch marker, and we're going to yarn over, insert, pull up the loop, and pull through all 3. Again, because we're at the end, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn. And then our first stitch is going to go into this first V there. And then we're going to pull through all 3, and just for safety's sake, the stitch marker goes back into the first stitch, and then we keep going until we reach the other stitch marker, and we keep on going back and forth to the stitch markers until we reach a point where this little rectangle that we're going to be making actually wraps around our head. Okay, so it has been just about 2 hours, and I have now completed my rectangle for my beanie. And I just did a bit of a count, and I've gotten to 52 rows. So I had to go back and forth 52 times to get to a size that is going to fit my big head. Okay, so now let's work on finishing. So here is the loop that my hook was in, like that, when I was finishing. So what I want to do now is I want to cut my yarn, but I want to leave a long enough end that I can do all of my finishing without running out of yarn, right? So this is pretty much all that's left from the 100 gram skein. Let's put that aside. And then now what we want to do before we go any further is we want to make a knot. So what that means is that we come here to the end and then we're going to make a chain. I think I've already done that though. Yeah, there. So you're going to make a chain like this. So again, yarn over and just pull through the loop on your hook. And then we're going to continue pulling through. We're going to keep pulling all of this yarn tail that we cut off, and we're gonna just tighten that so it makes a nice little knot. Okay, and then now we get to this guy. Now how much we like to sew, and that's how we're gonna close this off. Okay, so what we want to do is make sure that the end that we are ending on, which is here, is opposite to the end that we have our other loose end on. I'm going to show you why in a second. Okay, so now we're just going to thread our needle onto our hook like that, and then we're just going to sew. Okay, so we're going to take this and we're just going to go like that, and then just back and forth between the stitches, keeping it as close to the edge as we possibly can. Okay, because we don't want it to be like a big bulge on the side when we're sewing. Sorry, I didn't realize I moved out of frame. Okay, and then just pull this through. Ugh. I hate when it gets all static and then sticks to everything. But anyway, we're here. Okay, and we want to make sure to just open it up a bit because we don't want it to have gathered anywhere along the seam. So just make sure that you just spread out the stitches a bit as you go. Okay, and then we're at the end. I'm gonna pull this bit through. Okay, and then what we're going to do here is where we've got these two ends is we're just going to tie them together. Ooh, no, do not do that. Okay, straighten, straighten. And then we're just going to tie them together. Like that. If you want to, for security's sake, you can do it a couple times over, right? But that should be fine. And then now that we are here, I just want to remove the stitch marker. We are going to gather the top to make, or rather to close off our beanie. And how we're going to do that is how before we were sort of going in and out between two. Now we're just going to do it on the one. So just with the one side, and you're just gonna go back and forth like this, just like that, and you're going to keep going until you make it all the way around. Okay. There's no exact science to this. You just find a hole, plonk it through, as long as, again, it is close to the edge, because you don't want there to be a lot of gathering or bunching that happens at the top. So just make sure it is close to the edge, but other than that, you can just go in and out wherever, as long as you're only going through the one part. Otherwise you're going to be stitching it together to the other side. And you want to make it pretty even intervals, like maybe 5 millimeters apart, where your needle goes in and out. Okay, and then you get to the most satisfying part of making a beanie, where you hold on to this end of your yarn and you just pull it closed like this. Okay, and don't be afraid. Your yarn is a lot stronger than you give it credit for, and it is going to hold up. Don't stress. And then what I like to do is that when I get to this point, I just like to knot this bit again, just to make sure it doesn't start opening when I'm trying to finish the seaming. Okay, and now that we've done that, there's still a bit of a hole here. So if I put my finger through, there's still a bit of a hole. So while my yarn is still on my needle, we're just now going to go from one end of the circle to the other, just crisscrossing it like this, which is going to help close that little hole. So you do not have a hole at the top of your head. That is not ideal. Okay, maybe just 2 or 3 more times, just to make sure we've really got it. Go on top, there we go. Okay, there, and then maybe just 1 more. Okay, and then now we're going to do a sewing knot, which is done where you just pick up a little bit like that, go through a little bit, and then you pull it through, and then just when you get to a loop that is left before this loop closes, you want to put your needle through that. It's gotten caught on my little claw clip here, so that's okay. And then as you pull it closed, you'll see the knot start to form there, and then that is now knotted. You can again do this a couple times if you want, for security's sake. If you have trust issues like me and you don't want this unraveling on you, don't go there we go. Then just do it a couple times, but I think I'm feeling pretty secure now. Okay, and then the last thing that we want to do is just to make sure that we're not going to have these loose ends dangling around anywhere, is you're just going to weave this in. So you're just going to go and pick up a little bit of the stitches, not going too deep. You don't want your needle to go through to the other side of your project, just sort of staying on the surface of these stitches on the back, and you're going to pull that through. And then I want to go back the other way again and just weave that in, just getting under these back ones without pushing all the way through to the other side, like that. And that is it. You can just now snip this off like that, and then let me remove you, and we can turn this guy inside out like that. And then now we can fold him up, and there we go. We have our beanie with the edge like this. And let me flip this camera around and show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is the beanie that I just finished. As you can see, there is no hole, and yeah, I think it's really cute. I actually didn't think that it matched my top until now when I put it on, but I guess that was a happy accident. And yeah, in just 2 hours, I have made myself a beanie that goes with my outfit even. So I hope that this helps you guys. I hope that it guides you through the process of making a beanie from start to finish, and that you are able to successfully complete one of your own. And if you found this tutorial helpful, then please like, share, subscribe, and yeah, share this with your friends so that you can all have matching beanies. I'll see you guys in the next one.